accomplish. And this year, we're accomplishing our goals, okay?
Yeah, you are a super mover. A super mover. Ain't met nobody.
January is not the time to be around here trying to force this whole new year, new me concept. This year, we are doing things differently because as spiritual hoochies, we are all about aligning with the energy of the universe. You know what I'm saying? With the planetary energy, with the energy of the seasons. Society is always trying to pressure us to do things a certain way. And January is not the time to be trying to force yourself to be hustle, 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 go, go, go. January is in the dead of winter. And winter is all about shedding. Winter is all about rest, hibernation. If you look at the seasons, right, you see that during the winter the leaves are falling, everything is dead, nothing's blooming. When spring come around though, the universe is in full bloom, okay? And you should be the same way. Just like our cycles align with the moon, our menstrual cycles, our bodies do as well, because we are being pulled by the tide of the moon. So it's very important that we start aligning our actions with this season as well, because it is in support of us. The universe is literally conspiring in our favor. And when we resist what is our natural flow, then we create restrictions, okay? And we hold ourselves back from accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish. And this year, we're accomplishing our goals, okay? And what we're going to do is not overwhelm ourselves, not trying to push ourselves to like accomplish all of these habits and like implement all of these habits and reach all of these goals and do all of these things in the dead of winter. It doesn't work like that. So, what I have done is designed us an 8-week plan to utilize the months of January and February to align with the highest version of ourselves so that when spring come around, we can be ready to embody our innate nature, our highest selves, and conquer the year in full swing. We can be ready. And the reason why this is so important that we utilize this time in January and February is so that we can create a foundation during a time that is, really designed for us to do just that. With January being in the full winter, it is a time that is designed for us to clear out what no longer serves us, both physically and mentally, reflect on our desires and our values, plant seeds of intention, even if we don't act on them just yet, and build small sustainable habits that will support the vibrant growth of spring. Okay, you'll see me notice me looking back and forth because I took some notes, because I really want to make sure that we have all the tools that we need. There is no point in trying to like fake the funk. Like, we got to get our shit together. Okay, and 2025, the year of 9, is the year for us to do just that, so that when that new fresh time frame come around, we can complete these cycles and we can get ourselves aligned and embodied with the highest state of being within ourselves. What foundations do for us is they give us clarity, they help us to ground ourselves, and they help us to build discipline. You ever notice how like around the new year, when we start things fresh in January, we typically get very overwhelmed, and by the time that next quarter come around, we find ourselves starting over all over again because we overwhelmed ourselves in the dead of winter, and now we feel like we're never going to reach our goals in the year, even though it's really the new year in March. You know what I'm saying? So by us being able to change our perspective and change our paradigms around the seasons and around the real new year, it will really allow us to align and make sure that we're not overwhelming ourselves, so we can really conquer this year like we know we can. Okay? So, first things first, in weeks 1 and 2, what we're going to do is focus on reflecting and focus on resetting the energy for the new year. And during this time of reflecting, it's so important because it allows us to look back on the year and figure out what didn't work for us. What worked for me very effectively? Who didn't work for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, what were the habits that I started that I wasn't able to complete? You know what I'm saying? Actually implement in my life. What were the goals that I set that I never accomplished? Like, this isn't the time to start beating yourself up because you didn't accomplish everything that you wanted to accomplish in 2025, even though you wasn't prepared physically and mentally, like we're about to do right now, to be able to do that. Okay, so we're just going to be utilizing this time of reflection to really take inventory on the things that worked for us and the things that did not work for us. So I want you all to start. This is for me too, actually. I want us to start with answering the questions to this journal prompt. What worked for me in 2024? What did not work for me? And I want to let that go because I can clearly see that it did not work for me. What goals feel most aligned with the highest version of ourselves? Like, not looking at what other people are saying that they're doing in 2025, not looking at our community, not looking at social media and see people setting these big goals and now we're doing the comparison and the trash game and it doesn't work for us. No, we're going to be looking at the highest version of who we are and figuring out what are the goals that we can set that align with me, because what aligns with you may not work for somebody else, and what works for somebody else may not work for you. So it's very important that we look within and realize that this is about me versus me. I'm trying to outdo 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021. Okay, this is the year where I'm gonna do things a little bit differently so that I can accomplish things the way that I know that I can this year. So we're going to answer those journal prompts, like I said, and then we're also going to take this time to really clean and declutter our space. And when I say our space, I don't just mean our physical space, because while our physical space do actually need to be decluttered, we're going to get to that. We need to declutter our mental space, okay, because we're overwhelmed. We're really in the season of like really preparing ourselves to overwhelm the fuck out of ourselves, and we're not going to do that. So we're going to remove the things that aren't really that important right now, and we're going to focus on the things that are, by setting 4 tangible intentions for the year. And then once you decide by looking at the things that you reflected on from the year, so you'll know like what those intentions are for you, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take one for you to focus on each quarter. Like for me, one of my biggest things that I realized about myself is that I'm one of the most consistent and consistent people that I know. I can start some shit, but I don't always bring it to that, that time bound. When we think about SMART goals, I don't always accomplish it within a time frame that I'd like to. Or actually, I probably don't even accomplish it at all. And hold on, am I recording? I'm like, why I don't see the red dot? Anyways, and so I start getting really down on myself and I start feeling shit and all that stuff. So that's why I've realized that like doing things like this will really help me to start implementing those habits early on, so that by the time that go season, when it's time to take action and the universe is like in support of that, then I'm also like feeling really charged up to be able to implement those habits that I've already started practicing in this hibernation and this resetting stage. You know what I'm saying? So during this time, what we're also going to do is create a grounding ritual for us, because everybody around us is probably going to be hella overwhelmed. That's probably going to be working super hard, forcing themselves to like be the best version of themselves right away. Meanwhile, we're taking our time. So what we're going to do is identify a ritual that works for us, that we can really refer to, whether it be every day, every week, or whenever we feel overwhelmed. For example, maybe you want to start implementing some sensual movement throughout your days. Maybe you want to take a moment to journal and, establish a gratitude journaling ritual. Or maybe saying your affirmations while you're doing your skincare routine in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Really habit stacking. doing it with things that you know that you're going to be doing every single day to make it easy for you to implement those things. If I know that every single day I'm going to brush my teeth because I got braces and I can't be walking around here with funky breath, and I know that maybe sometimes I, forget to say my affirmations, maybe I'll do it while I'm brushing my teeth, or maybe while I'm washing my face. You know what I'm saying? I'll listen to an audio book because I set a goal that I wanted to read more this year, but I never really set time aside for me to be able to do that. You see what I'm saying? So identify what your grounding ritual is every single day, or those habits that you can stack with other things for you to be able to start implementing those things at a slower pace so that you don't overwhelm yourself. Okay, that's going to be week 1 and week 2: reflecting, resetting, and resting, taking our time, because we are not in a rush, baby. We got 8 weeks. We're giving ourselves 8 weeks, and that's actually also giving us a little bit more of a grace period, because spring isn't until late March anyways. So this is just going to allow us to really have that time that we need to be able to really do it, because they say it takes 21 days to build a habit. Well, we know ourselves. Okay, because we know ourselves, we know that we might slip up. We don't want to slip up, but we're going to give ourselves a grace period just in case we do, because we are giving ourselves grace and we're taking our time and we are being mindful of who we are. Okay, because as spiritual hoochies, we understand that things don't always pan out the ways that we would like for them to. Why? Because we are in tune with the moon, and the moon goes through cycles. The moon isn't always at its full bloom. The moon isn't always in hibernation. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we're moody. Sometimes when we're on our cycles, we don't have time to be doing shit but just chilling. Okay, you get what I'm saying? So that's why we're going to be giving ourselves a little bit of a grace period so that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish. Okay, which brings us to week 3 and 4, which is going to be all about those habits that we are stacking. This is going to be the time where we are going to identify the habits that we really like to implement this year. Okay, maybe this year you want to read more. Maybe you want to start implementing more movement throughout your day, whether it be walking or dancing or prancing, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you want to make sure that you're drinking enough water and taking your vitamins. Okay, maybe you want to whatever it is. This is going to be the time where we're going to identify those habits and we're going to start implementing them in a tangible way that works for us. So because we don't want to really overwhelm ourselves, we're just going to start with identifying about 3 to 5 habits. Okay. And small habits. They don't need to be anything crazy. Like I said, I want to drink more water this year. I want to make sure that I'm being consistent with my movement routine. I want to read more books. Okay, I want to journal more consistently and journal a lot more. That's 4 habits. Those are small things that we can implement. Okay, and we can align those with things, like I said, that we were already doing. So figure out for you what those 3 to 4 habits are and take note of them and start implementing them in weeks 3 and 4. All right, which will help us to make sure that that timeline is meeting up with the start of spring. So now that we've started implementing these habits, this is going to take us to weeks 5 and 6, which is all about aligning with the highest version of ourselves. And in order for us to be able to do that, we have to know who that person is. Like, what does she look like? What does she smell like? What does she taste like? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does she do? How does she take care of herself? How does she show up for herself? How does she show up in the world? How does she show up for her community? And now that you know what the highest version of yourself looks like, feel like, acts like, walks like, talks like, what her embodiment is, and we've already started implementing those habits, this is going to be the time where we are going to start aligning with our higher self, and we're going to be utilizing astrology and human design to do that. And if you like to really have an assistant, because sometimes we be needing a little help, you can utilize Chat GPT. You can give Chat GPT your human design, by going over to, a reputable website, which I can put one here for you to look into what your human design is. Personally, I'm a manifesting generator. My authority is sacral, so it's really important for me to move off things that align with my gut, etc., etc. So knowing these things, knowing what your nature is, will help you to know whether the things that you're trying to do or be are actually aligned with who you are, like it's really aligned with your nature. And we are also going to take the notes that we've gathered from learning our human design and start practicing that. Like, for example, if I know that my authority is sacral and it's really important for me to make decisions based on my gut, I can start implementing that throughout my life. Maybe when I find myself coming in contact with something I need to make a decision about, I know that in that moment I could take a moment to breathe into my womb and ask her, is this for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I feel like I got butterflies, maybe this is something I need to do, even if it doesn't make sense on the logical aspect. But that's because I know my sacral authority. You know what I'm saying? I know what my profile is. So it's really important for you to know what your profile is so that we can move in alignment with our truest nature and really start aligning with our higher selves. That's what week 5 and 6 is going to be about. It's going to be about taking inventory on who you are in your nature versus nurture, and taking the two and integrating the two and starting to move in alignment with it. Okay. Now that we know what our higher self is, this who our higher self is, and like what things are really aligned with us, this could also be a really good time for you to start working on your vision board. You know what I'm saying? Like, take everything, the habits that you've identified you want to work on, who your higher self is, what your human design is, what your goals are, and go ahead and create that vision board so that by the time March comes around, you can be ready. You already have it, and you can start looking to, you've already started implementing those tasks. You've already started implementing those habits. You already started implementing those grounding rituals so that by the time the spring comes around, you can be set. You know what I'm saying? You can be ready. Okay. So this brings us to week 7 and 8, which is all about embodying the energy. You have the tools, you have the resources, you have everything that you need. You've already started practicing, getting that practice in, getting those reps. You know what I'm saying? So that now you can start embodying this energy. This is where you're going to start taking inspired action and really step into who your next level self is. So what we're going to start with is just choosing one goal. One. Remember, we're not overwhelming ourselves. We're going to choose one goal, and we're going to actually start taking some small, tangible steps for us to be able to accomplish those goals. Start scheduling check-ins with yourself, whether it be once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every new moon, once every full moon, whatever works for you. And start checking in with yourself to reflect on your progress and adjust where needed. Because a lot of times we'll just be going, and we'll realize that, like, actually this doesn't work for me. So I need to pivot. And it's important to be open to the pivot, because a lot of times the success is in the pivot. Okay. The success is in the pivot. You got to be open to the pivot. You know what I'm saying? You got to be open to that. All right. So here's a few tips that we're going to utilize so that we can stay on track. Okay. You get what I'm saying? Focus on 1 week at a time. You see how during this 8-week plan, we kind of given ourselves 1 to 2 weeks to be able to really focus on what that category is. Start pairing your habits with existing routines. Like we said, maybe when I brush my teeth, I'm also going to say my affirmations. Maybe while I'm doing my skincare routine, I'm also going to listen to, some gratitude, or I'm going to listen to that audiobook. And lastly, if you're someone that knows that you can use some accountability because maybe you have a hard time, keeping yourself accountable, then feel free to join us over at the Spiritual Hoochie Sanctuary over on Patreon. All right. So really briefly, I'm going to go through again what this 8-week plan looks like. Weeks 1 and 2 is all about reflecting, resetting, and resting, okay? Because we're not going to overwhelm ourselves. Week 3 and 4, start building those habits. Identify what the habits are that you really like to start implementing and take seriously this year, and start implementing them. Week 5 and 6, align with your higher self. Start connecting with your purpose and intuition, utilizing tools like human design and astrology within your birth chart. Week 7 and 8, we're going to start embodying this energy, okay? Taking inspired action so that we can really step into our next level self, so that by the time spring comes around, we can be ready to conquer this new year like a pro. Meanwhile, everybody else is going to be overwhelmed as fuck, feeling like they got to start over and like all this other stuff, but not you. I've also generated a blog post that you can refer to on the Spiritual Hoochie Sanctuary blog with all of the details, this broken down, because I understand that, you know, some of us learn in very different ways. Some people can hear and get the information. Some people need to see and read it at the same time. So like I said, refer to the link below. It's in the description box where you can access the blog post on how we are going to really take advantage of this first quarter of the year to set the foundation for really reaching all of our goals by taking our time and not overwhelming ourselves. All right. So thank you so much. If you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor and drop a crystal ball emoji at the bottom to let me know that you made it to the end, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, like this video, and let me know in the comments whether this resonated with you, whether you plan to actually implement this new 8-week plan. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Divine, your favorite sensual spiritual rap goddess, the Spiritual Hoochie, and I'll see you in the next one.